The La Soufriere volcano erupted on April 9th, 2021. It brought with it a series of change, some of which are permanent. My name is Colville Mounsey, and I have returned to the beautiful island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, along with photojournalist Shanice King, and we hope to capture how life has changed, as well as how it has returned to normalcy. Please follow our series this week on Nation Barbados' platform. Upon arriving in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a quick drive around the 150 square mile landmass would yield little evidence that just over a year ago, the island had suffered a major volcanic eruption. On the surface, life appears to have returned to normalcy. The apocalyptic-looking ash-covered streets and homes have now been cleaned up. No signs of worry etched on the faces of school children as they go about their daily routine, and commerce has returned. However, like a duck on a pond, appearing calm at the surface, but paddling a mile per minute underneath, there is much more to life in St. Vincent and the Grenadines post-eruption than meets the eye. Before we take a walk down the road to recovery in the first episode, we must first understand the state of play as it relates to the safety of the La Soufriere volcano. We sat down with lead scientist during the eruption, Professor Richard Robertson of the University of the West Indies' Seismic Research Center. He explained that after 32 eruptions between April 9th to April 22nd last year, the volcano is safe but still very much active.
It's a live volcano, which means it's not dead. It could erupt in the future, and that we therefore have to keep a close eye on it. It's safe in terms of for people to visit it. It's not going to. We don't expect it to burst out into eruptions without any kind of warning. That's why we have a team of scientists that monitor it closely. And we'd expect that we'll detect clear signs, as we did last time, before it goes into explosive activity. So in terms of the threat level, it's as threatening as any other live volcano in the world, any other volcano that can erupt in the world. It's just that this one, perhaps in the context of the Caribbean, erupts a bit more frequently, and certainly has done that within the last 100 years. And therefore it is one that we have to particularly keep a very close eye on. But there's no reason for anybody to be unusually scared if in fact, any of the villages on the volcano, they are safe as they were before the eruption.
The road to the stage of recovery has not been an easy one, and according to head of the National Emergency Organization, Michelle Forbes, it took nothing less than an all-hands-on-deck approach to achieve the level of normalcy thus far. She said that the cleanup began last June, and it would take another 3 months before persons were given the all-clear to return to the red zones on the windward and leeward side of the island.
The La Soufriere explosive eruptions actually ran from April the 9th to the 22nd. So today would have been the last explosive eruption that we would have had at the volcano. It went on for some time, and we had 32 explosive eruptions with a lot of ash. I know you got some in Barbados. Ash, lahars, pyroclastic flows, lava bombs, stones and so being thrown out of the volcano. So quite a lot of debris, tons of debris would have been thrown out from the volcano. And we are here on, we are at a stage now, yes, which appears to be normal. Persons have returned back to their community. But I think we also must remember there are still a few persons who have been displaced because their homes have been destroyed totally, or they cannot return to their homes. So we still have a few persons displaced. To get to this stage, it really goes back to the National Emergency Management System or the Disaster Management System, where you have key agencies with critical responsibility within the whole system. Not just the NEMO Secretariat, because where I sit here, we only have 19 staff. And during that emergency, we would have had, in the peak of that emergency, especially in April, we would have had at least over 2,000 persons being directly involved in that emergency response itself. So there are critical agencies that have different roles. I know you said you saw the ash cleanup and everything. It has to do not alone with the national agencies, but the NGOs and the community themselves who would have actually had to go back. So we would have reduced the orange alert down to orange about May, close to June there, and that is when the cleanup actually started. And we would have the key agencies that led that was really the BRAXA, we call Building Roads and General Services Authority. That's called BRAXA. That's an entity that is closely connected to the Ministry of Transport and Roads, and they undertook that mammoth task of cleaning the streets and ensuring that the ash was removed and disposed of. And then we also had NGOs and other private sectors taking on the initiative of supporting the families to clean their homes, clean their roofs. So many of the homeowners did a lot of the work themselves. So you clean around the homes and around that. So things look a little normal now because the entire system had to be activated, and everybody really had to really step up and they did that. So we at this stage here today.
For NEMO, the work is not over, as support is still needed for displaced persons. 1 year after the eruption, 7 shelters remain open, housing 78 persons. Forbes explained that the country was now in a phase of rehabilitation and rebuilding, noting that this was by no means going to be an overnight fix.
You can plan as much as you want, but when it actually happens, it moves so quickly.
Yeah.
It moves so quickly that you're like, wow, you just have to get into it. Right, so once it actually, the evacuation order was given, that's when the response really started a little bit before, because I would have been up at 5 in the morning when we started recognizing that, hey, maybe in the next 24 hours we may have to give the evacuation order, and then you still have to start to kick things in place based on your procedures, right? So the response would have basically started for the eruption itself on the 8th. When we started evacuation, we had the meetings, the media, and then we kicked into the shelter operations, the relief, the logistics, a tremendous amount of work, the cleanup operations, post-cleanup operations, because that went on for months, more long into September, before September there, before persons can actually start, the last set of persons can actually start returning home. And now we're in the phase of recovery and rehabilitation, which is going to be a long term. It's not an overnight fix. So there are critical agencies, key agencies, the Ministry of Housing and BRAGS again, who are working on the repairs of the homes, supporting the homes, and we have private entities who have donated to support the reconstruction. A firm from Trinidad, we have a local Mustic Charitable Trust, so there are different entities who are doing different things in terms of rebuilding. Now we still have 7 shelters activated. We're hoping to have them closed by the end of April. And so we still have to deal with those persons. We have about 78 persons in emergency shelters. So we still have that aspect ongoing. So in part of the response, so it's more managing now. We have a recovery part of it, but you will still have a few persons here and there who may have needs. As their homes are repaired, they get back home, they may be asking for certain things that we continue to support. So it's quite a long event.
However, for the persons still in the shelters more than 1 year after the eruption, their patience is wearing thin, as the emotional trauma of having no place to call home has begun to take its toll. The Nation team visited the South Central Windward Learning Resource Center, which was retrofitted into a shelter for evacuees. Residents, all of whom suffered total destruction of their homes, said they feel as if they have been forgotten. Dolores Cruikshank, who is banking on government's promise to rebuild her Langley Park home, said they were told that they had to leave the shelter in the coming week. She revealed that the uncertainty, separation from family, and coexisting with strangers has become taxing both mentally and emotionally. What has been the extent of the damage to your home?
Well, the whole roof, it dropped in.
It dropped in?
Yes.
Okay. So it's obviously it's uninhabitable. You can't move back here.
No.
Okay. Is it you and your family?
Yes, me and my family, but I alone in the shelter again.
So the rest of the family has gone where?
To different places.
Different places. Now this is a year, basically, that you've been here. I mean, obviously, mentally, that has to have been taking a toll on you.
Exactly.
I mean, walk me through how are you feeling?
I'm feeling real depressed because it's a year since we're here, and then we're getting stuff to eat and drink, but to be really comfortable, No. Because at first we have to be lying on the ground with a mattress.
Right.
And then it was so hard to get up at mornings because sometimes you wake up and your back so like it's so tired and then kind of stuff. But being here now, we were told last week that we have to find somewhere to go.
Oh, so you have to move out of this shelter?
Yes. But to where? We don't know. And sometime in the following week on there, people from the mobilization came here to find out like where we can go and stay, whether with friends or families and them kind of thing. But in this day and age, you can't go and live with people.
Right.
Right? We have been here for a whole year. Our houses get damaged. Fix them. Let's move from here and go back to our home. But don't have us here and want we now to go and look for somewhere. Where are we going to get a place for ourselves to stay? And the thing is yet, we are not working.
Right.
We have no income.
You were a farmer before?
Exactly.
So what has become of your farm?
Well, the farm, it got damaged, and then after that, I never go back and do anything concerning it.
But mentally, I mean, what is this doing to you at this point? I mean, it's, as I said, for a whole year being displaced.
It's stressful, real stressful. And you see, communicating with others, it have a big toll because we have different people with different mindset and them kind of thing. There are times we get along and there are times that we don't get along.
Right. How many persons are sharing this shelter? In the
It's
shelter?
supposed to be 9 of us.
Nine in the shelter.
2 female and 7 males.
And 7 males.
Echoing similar sentiments was Ezekiel Tony, a returning national from Canada, who is now homeless because his family home in which he resided was destroyed during the eruption.
How has it been?
Experience, really. I wasn't really expecting this to happen, but obviously when Soufriere erupted, my house, I was saying, the roof got collapsed, so I had to end up moving in a shelter for the time being.
Right. And I mean, in terms of, the emotional toll of being here at this place for an entire year, I mean, what has that been like?
Emotionally, it kind of did take a toll on me a little bit, but I had to understand that I'm going to have to be here for now until something can get done. So I'm going to have to tough it out until then, but it still have a little effect on me.
Okay. Where was your house located?
I was located in Byra.
In Byra.
Yes.
Okay. And well, they're saying now that you have to move out. That's my understanding.
Yes.
What's your plans?
I have a plan, but I kind of don't want to say.
You don't want to say it.
Yeah, but I have a plan. But if I didn't have my plan where I was going, I wouldn't be able to find nowhere here to stay until they could fix my house or live. If they have been a year like they're not going to do it, it seemed like they forgot about us. So.
You feel forgotten?
Yeah, I understand that they have, like I just said before, that they have came and gave us some food and supplies, but for our houses though, I feel like they forgot about us though, about that.
Okay. And there was an assessment done on your property to determine what is the extent of the damage and what could be done?
No, I talked to someone, we all have, I told them the information. I told them where I was staying, the house and everything and so forth. But I haven't received any information back on what's going to happen next with that. So with the estimate price on what's going to happen, I don't know.
Meanwhile, Cosman Batiste of Sandy Bay described how life in the shelter for more than a year has begun to take a toll on him mentally.
Since I did, I don't really just feel the right life.
Right,
When I get home, I will feel different.
right. Emotionally, what is this doing to you, man? How are you?
Because when I get here and a guy going to work, yeah, I say something wrong, somebody go and spit in a bread, kind of thing, sugar, where you're using in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And the body don't doing that. It's just in mind.
Right.
And from the time that I say I do what they hate.
So you feel it's taking a toll on some people mentally at this stage?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I talk for my right, them say me cussing.
Right.
And me just talk for my right when I see things going wrong.
Okay.
All in the toilet, you go in and don't flush it. Leave it with somebody else.
Right.
And they're calling you nasty and all them things, and them is nasty people. Oh, okay. And that's why I don't like the.
Okay.
Until when you find someone who put me.
Oswald Hooper, who has been charged with the rebuilding effort for the Leeward Red Zone, explained that while he understands the anxiety amongst persons awaiting their homes to be rebuilt or repaired, the rebuilding effort is being plagued by logistical challenges, including a shortage of tradesmen.
I mean, some of the houses are not really, some of the properties are not, they just don't need roofs. Some of the buildings need a complete structure, because the weight of the ash that would have fell under some of the homes, they would have damaged the infrastructure itself, the structure of the building, because some of the building was probably older building that couldn't stand the pressure that the ash actually put on the houses. Then.
Now, obviously, persons would be quite anxious to return home. Are you getting a sense that some persons might be getting a little impatient at this point?
Well, yes, because I mean, who wouldn't? If you living in discomfort, no one wants to live in discomfort, and I could understand the need for people who want the government to actually fast pace the process. But however, it is a process, and one of the problems that we've been getting from the initial stage was finding actually contractors to commit to to whatever the government is offering. So we have problem in terms of skilled workers. So in every village, because other skilled men is outside of the country, maybe in other constituency, maybe in the Grenadines doing other work, we had a problem at the beginning to find actual, not laborers, but just tradesmen, because everybody else have other commitments throughout the country and wherever they are. So at the moment, and from the beginning, that was one of our biggest problems, and still is plaguing us up to today. So as much as people want us to do a lot much more, we could only do as much as we basically are given to do at the moment, based on the availability of tradesmen. Okay. So that's been one of our biggest problems.
And obviously, we have been experiencing some global shipping supplies in terms of construction material. How was that?
Oh, well, that's definitely a problem, because even sometimes when we do place order, we cannot get the order on time, especially with the galvanized. And then in terms of logistics, to transport the materials from the Kingston, Camden Park area to North Leeward is always an issue.
Hooper said that despite the challenges, his team has managed to make significant inroads in the hundreds of houses that required repairs on the Leeward Red Zone. For those whose homes have been repaired or at least started, they couldn't be happier with government's efforts to assist them. Persons like registered nurse Julia Harewood of Chumaka, whose roof was recently repaired.
Home, and sometimes you had to pay extra costs in terms of traveling. For me, I had to travel to get to work while I was displaced, so it was a bit costly for me being away from home. And I think what the government did was a great initiative, in that it decreases your expense because providing material and cost of labor, that is a great help to persons coming back in the area.
Debra Matthews of Rosebank was also grateful as work has begun on her home, where her elderly father also resides.
Well, my experience was not good at all because during the volcano I was in a private home, and then I have to say I didn't get assistance until I reached home back. Yes, and then I'm glad that the thing in and repair in this house because it was real bad. As you could see if you go above there, you could see all those things real bad. So I thank the government behalf Mr. James and like Braxton, Nemo and everybody. Great thankful for what they have doing.
Post-eruption, there are several areas in the red zone that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have deemed unsafe for resettlement. These areas are still vulnerable to lahar flows or heavy rains. Work has begun in earnest to relocate these persons. One such settlement, which is located in Orange Hill, will be ready to house 27 families in the coming days. The Nation News team visited these homes where workers were applying the finishing touches. These homes, 9 of which are 3 bedrooms, began shortly after the volcano erupted last April. And based on reports, they are destined to be completed early next month. These properties have already been allocated to families, all of whom no doubt are eager to come to a place that they can finally call home.